tonight is the 9th of Muharram, and tomorrow we'll be starting of fasting. We can fast for 3 days, for 9th of Muharram and 10th of Muharram and 11th of Muharram, because Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu he was used to fast on Ashura, the 10th of Muharram, and the Jews were also doing the same on the day of Ashura, because they were giving thanks to Allah for saving Bani Israel and Prophet Musa from the Pharaoh when they passed the Red Sea. And there are many other things happen on Ashura, like Prophet Adam alayhi salam was forgiven, Prophet Nuh alayhi salam was and his people were survived, Prophet Yunus or Jonah, he was out from the whale, and many other things happened. And one of the greatest thing happened was on the day of Ashura was the sacrifice of the family of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that he will oppose to Jews, so he will not going to fast only on the 10, but 9 and 10, or the 10 on 11. And one of the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is 3 fasts in a month, or either he was also fasting on Monday and Thursday. So inshallah, we want to make it now regular, that started the first month of Islamic calendar. So we can always fast 3 in consecutive. Usually it's in the middle of the month, like 13, 14, 15, the Sunnah. So this time we can make it on 9, 10, and 11. And these 3 are mentioned in the Hadith. The Prophet Muhammad said either you fast on 9 and 10, or either you fast on 10 and 11. So inshallah we can make 3, and we can make routine for every month, in the middle of the month of Islamic month, that we can have a 3 fast. And that is one of the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu, that he was used to fast 3, they call Ayyam al-Bayd, the 3 fasts in the middle of the month. So inshallah, next month we can do it in the middle, but this one we can adjust it because of the catching up to Ashura. So tomorrow 9th of Muharram, and then after tomorrow 10th of Muharram, which will be on Tuesday, and on Wednesday will be the 11th of Muharram. So this we are going to fast for 3 days. And we can be doing that for many purposes, like thanking to Allah for both Allah give favors to the prophets. And also we are solidarity with the family of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu, that they were in hardship on those days for the sake of Allah, for the justice and for the betterment for the people, because there was a Yazid who wanted to bring the monarchy in Islamic law. The monarchy is a law of injustice where a family is control the land for their own family business, or they make it the government like family business. And that's what's happening in many Muslim countries. There are kingdoms, what we call dynasties, where there will be lasting injustice for the people. The money or the wealth will be contented with only one family, and that family is going to get benefit of that wealth, and rest of the people of that land will be in hardship. In Islamic law, the government should be public. Means you are a ruler or a government, you are only public servant. You are not going to be live like a king or dynasties, no. So the Yazid was bringing up the kingdom or the monarchy or the dynasty to replace the Khilafah, which Khilafah means that you are Khalifa, then you are serving people. You are the public servant. You are not going to live with luxury. There will be no protocol for you. There will be no security guards for you. You live in an ordinary place, your own place. You don't have any palace. You don't have any White House or any special service. You are just an ordinary human being who is serving to the public office, and you are a perfect public servant. There are many countries who are claiming that the rulers are the governments are the public servant, but it's not true, because they are living like a kings. They have palaces, and they have a special security, and they have big cars, convoys of the cars. So it's not true. Like what the companions of the Prophet Muhammad they showed really a public servants. Like Umar radiallahu anhu, there is no special palace for him. Like the Ali radiallahu anhu, when he's Khalifa, he's just behaving like ordinary human being. And when the Ali was become Khalifa, before there were 3 Khalifa, the Abu Bakr, Umar and Usman. And regardless if it was a right of Ali to be Khalif, he accepted those governments. Abu Bakr as the head of the state, Umar as the head of the state, and Osman as the head of the state. And Ali radiallahu anhu has no conflict with these three great leaders because he even named his own children with those names, Abu Bakr, Umar, and Osman. So when Ali became Caliph, head of the state, then Muawiyah revoked, and he don't want to pledge on him, so he waged a war against him. Because in Islam, that all the population should have only one head of the state. How many states you have? All those states should unite to become one state, and they are going to have only one leader or the ruler or the head of the state. So Ali has to surrender the Muawiyah, who was the governor of Sham, and he has to let him to pledge with him. And when he was about to defeat them, the Muawiyah, they accepted, they wanted to do a compromise, and they want to judge with the Quran. So there was no war at that time, and during that time Ali was killed. And because of Khawarij, they don't like Ali to stop the war. So they killed him, martyred him, they hit on the head and he was bleed. And after some time he died. And his son was chosen as the Khalifa, the Hussain. And Hassan was a great leader. The Prophet Muhammad said, this my son is a leader. He will make the reconciliation between the two groups of Muslims to stop the war. So what he did when he has a big army to defeat Muawiyah, because there was no compromise, the negotiation was not successful. And that time the Hassan, he stopped the war, he compromised with Muawiyah and let him to be ruler, to the head of the state with some conditions. And the head of the Muawiyah became the successful head of the state, and 30 years there was a peace. So we accept also that government, because it was appointed by the Ahlul Bayt, because Ahlul Bayt is the judge for this ummah. Because Prophet Muhammad said, I left behind you the Quran, the book of Allah, and the Ahlul Bayt, my family. So they accepted Muawiyah, we accepted too. But when the Muawiyah was died, the Yazid took over as a monarchy, or as a dynasty, that he owns this government because his father was the head of the state. And that's against the system of Islam. Islam is not allowing to be a monarchist, but khilafah. That a person who deserves to be head of the state and who can do justice according to the word of Allah, according to the law of Allah, then he can only be head of the state. So Yazid took over with injustice, and he was against the commands of Allah, committing injustice to the people, and he was lived like a king, and he was not acting as a public servant. And he has all bad habits like drinking alcohol or implementing the gamblings and allowing people to drink alcohol, etc. So even though many of the Sahaba, they pledged to him because of the fear of the death, because there were warnings to them. So there were big Sahaba who pledged, but there were those who did not pledge to him, like a son of Abu Bakr, son of Abbas, the uncle of Prophet Muhammad, Abdullah bin Abbas, the cousin of Prophet Muhammad, Abdullah bin Zubair was not also pledging, and the greatest leader of that time in the 61 Hijri was Hussain. He did not pledge to Yazid, and he did not want to pledge him, and he wanted to migrate it to Kufa to make his headquarters there. And they were captured. They were stopped at Karbala, the place in Iraq today. They're near to the river Euphrates or river Furat. And they would stop the water for 3 days. And they were given only two choices. Either you accept the unjust rule of Yazid, which is against to the right, and the Prophet's family cannot accept the false or the evil, but they should go for the right. So they did not accept Yazid to be the head of the state. And they have a second choice, to fight with us. So the 30,000 of army, under the commandership of Amr Saad, who was the son of a great Sahabi, Saad bin Abi Waqqas, who was the one conquered Persia, the one of the superpower. But because of the greedy given to him by the Yazid, that I'm going to appoint you as a governor of Ray, or the Iran, which is today's Iran. And he was tempted by this greediness, and he chose to fight the family of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And in his army there were the evil people like Shimmer and then the governor of the Kufa that time, Ibn Ziyad. Because before the Noman bin Bashir was fired, and then Yazid appointed his loyal governor, Ibn Ziyad, who was a very bad person. He sent the army and he killed the last of people who wanted to join Hussain in Kufa. And then finally the battle happened on the 10th of Zulhijjah. And before the night of the 10th of Zulhijjah, Prophet, the grandson of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Hussain, he told to his family and his friends, his relatives, everyone, he gave the open choice. You can leave on, you can just left me alone. They are looking for my blood. And I don't want to, he didn't want to place to Yazid injustice. So he said, you can all leave now. I can shut down the lamps so nobody see who is leaving. So you can all leave and leave me alone here. Save your lives. And when he opened the lamps, nobody left him. Everybody is there and they are all willing to die for the sake of Allah. It was the greatest example, as I quote about there are leaders of the world who are praising him, like Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi from India, the great leader. He said, if I can have a 72 men like Hussain and his companions, I can kick out the British from India in 24 hours. Nelson Mandela, and there are many great leaders who praise the sacrifice of Hussain, that how he can willing to give the life of him and his family and not to accept the injustice. So that is the greatest example. Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, on the day of judgment, when there will be no shade except the shade given by Allah, and then he give the 7 kind of people who are going to have a shade on the day of judgment, and that will be a great day of 50,000 years. And the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the number one contender who can receive the shade on the day of judgment, the shade from Allah, the rest all will be under the sunshine, under the heat of the sun. And the number one person he mentioned, a brave person who speak right, who speak the truth in front of the tyrant king. And that was a great example of Hussain and his family, that they did not afraid with this king, rather they speak the truth and they give their lives for Allah and they become martyr. If they were died with other reasons, they were died, but they died in the way of Allah for the truth, for the right, so they are alive. Until today, they are alive in paradise. Allah bring their souls in paradise and give them the bodies of the birds to enjoy, eat and be happy in paradise. We can consider that the 10th of Zulhijjah, the greatest incident happened. It's a martyrdom of the family of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, led by his grandson Hussain. And they give the great example that how the 72 people who stand up against the army of 30,000, and they know they are going to lose, but they are willingly giving their lives to be slaughtered for the sake of Allah on that day of Ashura. And that was the 10th day of Muharram. And if you go to the previous month, the Zulhijjah, the 10th of Zulhijjah, when Prophet Ibrahim was slaughtering his son, sacrificing his son Ismail, and Allah did not accept it. But on the next month, the son of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, means after the 5,000 years, but the next month in the sequence, that after the Zulhijjah is the month of Muharram. So Prophet grandson was slaughtered on that day, and that became the sacrifice of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that his son was giving his life on the 10th of Muharram and become the real sacrifice. There is no sacrifice in the human history. Not any prophet, not any family of the prophet, not any children of the prophet who can give this kind of a sacrifice. 72 people, they all give their lives in the way of Allah and they become martyr. Children, friends, relatives, even the Hussain, he has the 7 brothers who were martyred in this battlefield. Himself, Ali, Hussain, his brother Abbas, half brother, his brothers Abu Bakr, Umar, Usman, and 2 more brothers, Jafar. So these 7 were the children of Ali who were martyred in this battlefield. The son of Hussain, the son of his daughter of Ali, the Zainab, his sons were sacrificed. Other relatives and friends, companions, everyone give their life because they were believing that when you give the life in the way of Allah, you become the real alive. You will be successful. All your sins will be forgiven for that sacrifice you give in the way of Allah, for the justice, for the against the evil. From RJ Bustamante, gusto ko magbalik Islam. Okay. So if you like to become a Muslim, you need to make Shahada, which is in Tagalog or letter in English. Ako ay sumasaksi, walang ibang Diyos na dapat sambahin maliban kay Allah. At ako ay sumasaksi si Muhammad alipin, sugo, huling propeta ng Allah. At ako ay sumasaksi si Jesus, anak ni Maria, alipin at propeta ng Allah. Or in Arabic, you must say that, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh wa ashhadu anna Isa ibn Maryam Abdullahi wa Nabiyo. We will send you the message and you can also communicate with our members who can guide you. You can visit some mosque if you are near to our masjid, which is 221 Grand Avenue, BF Farms. You are welcome. Or if you are in the province or anywhere, you can go to any masjid to take your shahada, inshallah. If you are a Muslim, then you need to always worship only one God. You need to pray 5 times a day. You need to fast in month of Ramadan. If you are rich, you must help to the poor. And you must go to the house of Allah in Makkah, which is built by Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. Always speak the truth. Don't lie. Always be honest. Don't cheat people. Always be kind and not be cruel. Always be generous and not to be greedy, not to be niggard, not to fight people, not to say bad words. Don't steal, don't commit adultery, don't murder, or don't do harm people with your hands and with your words. Because Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, the Islam or the true Muslim is the one from his tongue and from his hand, everyone is safe. So if you're a true Muslim, then you give the peace to the people with your words and with your hands. That is the definition of being a Muslim. The true Muslim is the one who gives the safety, protection, and peace to the people from his words and with his hand.